Hello, everybody. Welcome to our second lesson of geometry. We are going to focus on perpendicular and angle bisectors. So our learning target for today, we're going to identify and use the properties of perpendicular bisectors, and we also will identify and use the properties of angle bisectors. So we have a couple new vocab words right there we need to get in our notes. First is a perpendicular bisector. So a perpendicular bisector is a line, segment, or ray that is perpendicular to the segment and it also divides the segment, I'll underline and, into two congruent segments. Okay, so that's pretty wordy, what we just said. So let's just draw a picture so we have a nice illustration. Just a reminder, perpendicular is when 90-degree angles are formed. So if two segments are intersecting or hitting each other or crossing, they're going to form a right angle. And then a bisector, anytime we see bisecting, that means we're cutting something in half into two equal parts. So if we have a segment, let's just call this segment AB. A perpendicular bisector to this, here's what that's going to look like. I'm going to draw in, and a perpendicular bisector could be a line, a segment, or a ray. Maybe I'll make this one a line. I'm going to draw, well, first of all, I have to bisect AB. So where should I draw this line in? Should I draw it here, here, here? If we're going to bisect and cut this in half, we want to go through the middle of it. So that's what the bisecting does, is it's going to cut our segment into two equal parts, and then we're going to create a right angle with that. So I definitely am eyeballing this, but it's going to look something like this. So this green segment, this is a perpendicular bisector. So some things that will help us identify that is if we put in a right angle, our little right angle symbol right there. So that's showing that we have formed a right angle. And then the bisector piece, segment AB, this is getting bisected. So this is getting cut into two equal parts. So we will just mark those with congruency marks. So that's what a perpendicular bisector would look like. Now an angle bisector is a ray that divides an angle into two congruent angles. So that definition was a little bit shorter. So what we have is you have a bigger angle. So I'm just going to draw, here's an angle, A, B, C. So to have an angle bisector, we are going to take this large angle and we're going to bisect it, which means cut it in half into two equal angles. So if I were to draw in an angle bisector, I'm going to kind of eyeball it. It's going to look like it's right about here, where I'm going to create two smaller angles that are congruent to each other. So I'm going to draw a ray, which means I'm starting at point B, and then it's going to have an arrow on the other end. Maybe I'll call that D. So that's ray BD. Ray BD is the angle bisector. And how we can show that that's an angle bisector is by showing that we have this angle is congruent to this angle, that we have those two angles that are congruent.